What's up, guys? Tattoo Doc here. Welcome back to episode 20 of Rad Talk. In this episode, Dennis and I give a quick update on a situation that happened where a nurse got pinned between a magnet, as we've talked about magnet safety in the past. We also discuss an article from the Washington Post about if doctors are overpaid. And then lastly, as always, we play the question of the day. If you enjoyed the content, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help us grow the channel.
A stretcher and a nurse were pulled into an MRI magnet. Luckily, no one died, no deaths. But just to go over, we went over MRI safety and the problems that persist with when things aren't done properly around a magnet that has a stronger force field than the Earth.
That's right.
And so what happened, this lady in Redwood Medical Center in Redwood, California. She was a nurse and she was taking a patient. Obviously, I don't know all the specifics from all the articles, but she was taking a patient around a magnet with not an MRI safe bed, and was pulled. The bed was pulled into the magnet. The patient fell off or jumped off the bed, and so wasn't injured besides falling off of a bed. And the nurse was, I believe, trapped between the magnet and the bed, and ended up suffering lacerations and having to have surgery for those injuries. And so your first thought is, and I believe they said like a door was open, and so proper precautions weren't taken and they were allowed to come into the area with the magnet. I'm not sure where the MRI tech was. But I believe that the end result of this is that findings by the California Department, I'm reading this, findings by the California Department of Public Health revealed the hospital failed to provide radiologic services in a safe manner.
Yeah. So of course they blamed it on radiology.
And so they're saying that, yeah, radiology's fault. I'm curious as what is happening with the MRI tech. If they're, first off, how bad they may feel with this incident happening to them being responsible for keeping people safe around the magnet, making sure the right people are let in and the right people aren't. And so I'm sure if I was, an MRI tech, I would probably feel a certain way. And I'm just wondering also how this happened, I guess. How were people let in? Because a lot of the, there's always like these crazy signs on the doors. So this individual must have really the nurse must have surpassed these signs on the door,
skipped them all,
skipped everything, and saw the door was open and then just continued on. Because what did you say? There's 4 layers, right?
4 zones,
4 zones,
and they're plastered on each. I work at an imaging center here, and the zones are plastered everywhere as to what. Now, obviously, patients don't know what they mean, but if you work regularly with magnets like that, what the different zones mean.
Right. And I'm wondering if this is a nurse, then obviously they're aware of the magnet. And I wonder if they even had proper clearance because working in different hospitals, you have to take it's I didn't say a dumb test, but like you have to take a test to just basically say, basic.
Yeah, it's like one of those modules everybody just wants to click through until they get to the end. Yeah. And this is what happens when you click through it and just
and you're like, yes, module. And so then they say, you take the module and they say, okay, you're safe to go around the magnet. What you're doing, don't take up metal objects around a magnet. And this lady obviously
both parties are obviously at fault, right? Well, I don't know where the article doesn't say where the MRI tech was, what they were doing, but you can't just, if you're going to go in there without clearance, don't take the patient. Just go in yourself and see if you can find the tech to get the ball rolling. Cause that's why these zones exist, the screening. And then obviously you don't, if you get past zone 2, that's what I told you in the old episodes, you can go back and watch it, but that's where they screen. So they make sure you don't have metal. This is why they make sure you don't have metal.
And it's interesting is she was able, and I don't know how she was able to get past all these zones and not think at any time, like I have a metal bed that I'm literally pushing near something that's that powerful.
This is the interesting. That's why I told you the magnet extends outside of the the room that it's in. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think people realize that. I think they think, oh, I walk into the MRI suite, I'm good to go. That magnet's not good. No, that magnet will reach you even if you're
Yeah.
not in the same room as the magnet. That shit is strong.
Yeah. So does it extend, like, is it extend in like zone 2? Does it extend in like zone 1?
No,
Does
it
it
will it's in zone 3.
in zone 3?
They have a I told you I did on that episode, they have a
Yeah.
line where the magnet will extend to, and if it will affect medical devices at that point. So,
Mm,
but
gotcha.
it doesn't extend into zone 2.
Zone 3
Just
is where they,
3 and 4. Yeah.
and I don't know if I saw a picture. I guess that it pulled it all the way. I guess I did it pinned her up against the magnet. So then they had
Mhm.
to turn the magnet off, I
Yeah.
assume.
So that not only yeah, they had to quench it because there's no way they were getting that thing separated from her and the so I imagine they had to quench it, which you suck all the helium out
Mm-hmm.
and the magnet shuts off. It's super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did they get fined, they had to pay to get the helium back and restart the magnet.
Right.
Two, I don't know what size hospital this is, but if this is your only magnet, it's gone. So no more
Mm-hmm.
MRIs until they can get it up and running again.
Right.
So you just hope it's not your only magnet. You hope it's not your best magnet, whatever the case is. It's just it's crazy. It's avoidable.
Yep.
Both people are the nurse and the MRI tech are at fault,
Mm,
but
mhm. It's
California decided it was
radio.
radiology. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm wondering now, that they're saying at the radiology department, I wonder what California is gonna try to put on the hospital as well. So now the hospital may be without a magnet.
yep,
Whatever kind of trouble that the tech may have been in for not being
yeah,
there or not being trouble, I don't know. The issues that the nurse has by taking a metal object, that if the nurse wasn't even, if she didn't do the modules, then she wasn't allowed to be taking
yeah,
patients. And I'm curious on how many patients has she taken to MRI before? Was this the
yeah,
first time that she had ever taken a patient? Is she a new nurse? First time you ever taken a patient to MRI?
yeah.
Not validating that,
And
what
I
she
don't
did.
think you mentioned which hospital it happened at, but it was Kaiser
Yeah, it was a
that it
Kaiser
happened.
hospital.
But you and I both had the same thought. Was this during
Mhm.
the strike? But I
Right.
read the article. This happened in like February, so this is
Yeah.
well before. So
Mhm.
the thought was this person replacing someone who was on strike? But
Yeah.
then I already told you my thoughts. But even
Yeah.
if this was replacing someone on a
Mhm.
strike, this is basic information. You have to know this.
Yeah.
It's like starting an IV or whatever the equivalent is. Everybody that deals with this, if you go anywhere near that magnet, you have to know basic
Right.
safety protocols.
And I'm wondering if, yeah, like, was this, and then who else is the charge nurse at fault for sending this nurse to MRI? When did they go through the modules? Were they supposed to be in it,
Yeah.
and it just kind of, it trickles back up as it trickles down as well. And so
Mhm.
I'm wondering I don't know, a lot of questions that obviously I'm probably will never know the answers to.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm happy that the patient is okay. That, you don't never know what kind of patient, what kind of, are
Yeah.
this patient able to stand up? What kind of patient you're bringing into these diagnostic tests. And so this patient was able to fall off the bed or get off the bed without being injured.
Yeah.
The nurse obviously survived, thank God. Um, and it cost them a fortune. And we'll see
Yeah.
what kind of if California then fines this hospital for negligence. Or, I mean, it's like, not in like a different comparison, but like if God forbid a baby would ever be taken from like the
Yeah.
NICU, like your hospital is probably finito. Like if you lose a kid, like it's finito. So these things like this, like it's going to get around the town, around the area, that like, hey, this hospital does these things that
They're
aren't, that
incompetent. Yeah.
they're incompetent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you get a stigma, and people will be like, I don't want to go there. I don't, they don't
That's
know what
right.
they're doing. And so,
And it doesn't take much, especially in today's day and age, man. Word travels fast.
yeah,
They put this on Facebook. I mean, I forget who wrote the article, but there's already an article about it.
mhm,
So, I mean, this is spread fast.
yeah.
So,
It's a sad thing, and maybe this was one of the, I don't, a few incident, or there wasn't a lot of incidents, and now there's this one, and then this is just going to be down the line.
this
I
has like a training seminar written all over it, you know.
Yeah,
I know the
exactly.
whole department's getting blasted.
Mm,
They're going to do modules. Maybe they have to do an in-person training seminar. Like I'm
yeah,
sure maybe they bring in a speaker. I'm sure
mhm,
maybe not with Kaiser. I don't know, but things
yeah,
are going to go
mhm.
Usually
they're
when things like this happen, organizations overreact, right? So they overdo everything from this point on. So we'll see how that goes.
which maybe that's like a better, hopefully they add all these like a training steps, or they're like, okay, we can't just do modules anymore, we have to have
Yeah,
that next layer
it's
where,
clearly not enough,
yeah, it's not enough, this never happens on our watch again,
especially
because
in an era of traveling where people are constantly switching jobs and different.
Mhm,
I mean, magnets are magnets, but still, like they
right,
should have to go over that stuff every time
right,
they
and I,
sign a
and I
contract at a different
yeah,
place.
and I wonder if this was I don't know if this was a full-time nurse, a part-time nurse, a travel
Hmm.
nurse. We don't know that background of this individual, but
It's definitely
I'm
something that shouldn't have happened, regardless.
I hope she doesn't lose her nursing license, though.
No, she shouldn't.
I
Yeah,
hope this is like you messed up, but this is like an
yeah.
opportunity to kind of
If
teach
it's like
other people.
if she's a repeat offender, maybe.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
this
yeah,
is her first time, I mean, everybody makes mistakes,
for
and
sure.
like you said, luckily for her, the patient didn't die
Right. No
or get
deaths.
injured or anything. Yeah,
Money was lost. A lot of money was lost, but
yeah.
no
Had
lives
it
lost. So
might be a different outcome had the patient been involved, because
yeah,
they're just a bystander, right? They're just being taken to do the exam. They have no idea what's going on.
right.
So I think she got lucky that the patient was fine.
I agree. I agree. And
All right,
so,
now we
all
get
right,
to
now
do
this
the
this next topic is one that's been near and dear to Gage's heart.
yeah.
He's really thinking about this. So
I think it's common, but
mhm,
you and I think you sent me this article actually
I
a
did.
while back. It's a Washington Post article that
Mhm,
states the average doctor makes $350,000 a year, and the title just says the average doctor in the U.S. makes $350,000 a year. Why?
mhm,
So already, like you read the title and you're like, oh man, he thinks doctors are making too much.
mhm,
And I mean, we don't have to go through the article itself, but they do. There's a couple of things. One of them that's kind of misleading is um, they cite where they get the information from and all that kind of stuff. That's good. But one of the things I noticed was that they take into account things that aren't salary. So that takes into
mhm,
account investment portfolios, rental houses, whatever. Now I
mhm,
think they do say that majority of physicians income is their salary,
mhm.
but still I don't know why you would make the point of bringing in other sources of income,
Yeah.
because they're not that's not related to me being a doctor.
Right. Or related to somebody who's a nurse who, who
Yeah.
has 10 rental houses and they're
Yeah.
making, whatever amount of
Unless
money.
you're arguing my high salary is what allows me to buy the rental houses and invest and all this other stuff. But
Take the risks. Yeah.
yeah, it's a weird phenomenon. This is kind of just out of place a little bit, but it's a weird phenomenon that people hate the doctors make so much money
Mhm.
compared to other areas, especially in medicine. You
Yeah.
don't ever hear, no one would ever say, "Oh, Dennis, why'd you take a job? You took a job for more money? Like that's
Mhm.
terrible." Nobody would
Yeah.
ever say that. Be like, "Oh, good for you, Dennis. You took a job for more money."
Mhm.
If you want to become why do people go from CNA to LPN to RN?
Mhm.
They're good. They'll give you bullshit reasons. Oh, it's responsibility. No, it's because you want to make more money.
Mhm.
Because RNs make way more than LPNs and CN. I don't know what the ratio is, but I know they make more.
Yeah. 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 So you're
Then
saying,
why
yeah.
would you go to get your NP? You want to make more. Why do you want to be a PA? You want to make more. So it's like
Yeah.
this weird thing that doctors aren't supposed to like want to make more money.
Right.
And it goes into a thing we've briefly touched on, like
Mhm.
healthcare is a weird service industry. Like patients
Mhm.
want it to be like this 5-star experience. Doctors
Yeah.
shouldn't care about money, all this and
Mhm.
that and the other. So it's a
Yeah.
very weird thing. But this article, I mean, it
Yeah.
lists out how much each specialty makes. It goes through
Mm.
all that kind of stuff. I
Right.
just
Average.
thought it was
Well,
obviously as a physician.
and I think especially as a new, if you're a new nurse, or if you're a new doctor, or if you're a new in your career, if
Yeah.
you have any sort of debts you've accumulated, student loan debts. So you're like, okay, I have to pay off my student debts. And
Mhm.
so if you went to school to kind of better your life, maybe you wanted to be a nurse practitioner because it would allow you to prescribe medications and take
Yep.
better care of, whatever else other reasons, along with the more money that you're getting for that, you have to still pay back those debts. And so when you look at a career field, I think, I don't know, you want to pick something that you enjoy, but you also want to pick something where
I can
you can
make a
have a
living.
decent life
Yeah.
living, and so as a physician, yes, if their average was 350,000 or whatever this given,
Mhm.
from family medicine to whatever specialty,
Yeah.
exists at these high level stuff.
So I'll give my answer, but I want to hear from you.
I I
You
I,
agree or disagree with the article? We make too much money?
I don't think so, and I think I don't think you make too much money as a physician because I know the amount of years that you had to put in 14
Mhm.
years of schooling and then exponential student debts that you have to take on
Mhm.
to pay those back. And yes, you can make enough money to pay back those student debts, but I know there's also doctors who go to school and they don't get into their particular field and they don't end up making that money and they still need to pay
Yeah.
back those debts. And so I think you did the work and like no you did the work knowing what the end result was.
Yeah.
And so like that's that's what you did. You've earned that. It's like, it's like you're a professional, your God-given ability. You were given you're LeBron James. And
Mhm.
so like and you add a lot of work to it and so you make a ton of money. Like kudos to you. You were given some gifts. You worked really hard
Yeah.
and you've earned that money that's yours. Now I think the generational wealth kind of stuff is harder for somebody who doesn't have generational wealth to understand.
Yeah.
But if you work really hard for something and you were promised a certain salary for doing that, like I can't be mad at you.
Yeah.
That's like the American thing. Like you did
American
something.
dream.
Yeah, the American dream is
Yeah.
like you can come here and if you work really hard and study and become what this occupation is or whatever, then you've earned that money. And pay them, and that's what they've earned. I wouldn't expect like a nurse to make what a neurosurgeon makes
Yeah.
because the level of education and dedication that they've had to put into that is such a longer, more intense thing. It just
Mhm.
doesn't make sense, and it's not to knock nurses,
Yeah.
but
No, no, no.
but yeah, I don't think that. And now, am I saying like, is there a certain number that I'm like, okay, you should only make this
Yeah.
number? And I think that's the question that we struggle with is how much is too much? And
That's
so,
right.
should the radiologist make $1 million a year and the neurosurgeon make 700,000 a year? And so it's like and I think that probably goes back to supply and demand
Yeah.
of they've at a certain point somebody said that the average you should make this amount to this amount from here to here. And so they said, okay, I want to go into neurosurgery, okay, I want to go into radiology, or okay, I want to go into I'm happy being a family medicine doctor or whatever that is. And that's the salary range. And it is
Yeah.
what it is.
I think for me, there are a couple of reasons we're not overpaid. First, I will say I think everybody in medicine is underpaid,
Mhm.
except for like C-suite, like execs. They're way overpaid. I think nurses should make more, techs, everyone should make more
Mhm.
because I know the hospital makes a killing off of us.
They do.
So there are a couple of reasons I think we're not overpaid and maybe even underpaid. The first one you've already mentioned. It took me 15 years to even get here.
Mhm.
So if you get someone that does what you do
Mhm.
immediately out of the gate at I don't know how long your degree is, what, 2 years, 4 years?
Yeah, there's a 2-year degree, 4-year degree.
So
No,
you have a
yes.
10-year earning head start on me.
Mhm.
And if you play your cards right, I'll never catch you, right?
Mm.
Because you've had 10 compounding interest over 10 years. If
Yeah.
you're stacking up rental houses and all this other stuff, I'll never catch you after I
Yeah.
pay off my debt and all this kind of stuff. Or if I do catch you, I'll be 55. I'm
Mhm.
almost dead at that point.
You're not
So
50. Oh gosh.
uh
Whatever. Crazy.
the schooling is the one of the most obvious answers. I mean, it takes us forever. It's extremely expensive. I forgot what you said the average debt was, $250,000, and that
Yeah,
was in
too.
2017. So
Right, some
that's gone
parents.
up since then.
Yeah.
Um, so that one, and I think the big one that people are aware of, but they never say out loud, is liability.
Mhm.
A neurosurgeon doesn't makes way more than a nurse because if someone's going to get sued, who's it going to be? Not the nurse.
Yeah, brain surgeon.
That neurosurgeon is going to get railed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so the doctor takes almost all the responsibility.
Right.
They'll sue the healthcare system and all that. Now, if nurses can get sued, don't get me wrong, if you give the wrong medicine or something, but
Yeah.
if you they'll document everything and push it back onto the doctor as best they can. And if
Mm.
something goes wrong, the doctor's going to get hammered. We have malpractice insurance and all that, but it doesn't always cover everything.
Well, and people follow the money too. So if whatever, if somebody wants to sue you for something, they're going to sue the hospital, they're going to sue the doctor, they're going to sue the people who have the insurance policies.
Yeah.
That's who they're going after.
And I mean, people think it's nothing to get sued. I mean, that's a big deal.
Mm.
One, you've made a mistake that's worth being sued. So
Yeah.
you have to live with that as whatever specialty you are.
Right.
2, you have to go to court and do all that kind of stuff. 3, if you get convicted, it's going to follow you the rest of your life. You have to, every time you apply for a license, you have to put it on the paper that says, I've been convicted of whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, the liability, especially in radiology, it's very unique. And I've mentioned millions of times, it's one-on-one, right? So it's me versus myself, right? So if I miss something, there's no going back and said, hey, here's my report. Here's what I said. I just whiffed it.
Yeah.
And I've also said it's not if, it's when, right? I'm on pace to read like 16 to 18,000 exams this year. That's 16 to 18,000 times I could possibly be sued for something.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You're going to miss something.
For sure.
I mean, I've given you the example before, like you can't take 10,000 steps. That's the goal. Everybody's supposed to take 10,000 steps. And we're most people are pro walkers. Like we could do it all day.
Yeah.
You're not, even if you walk 10,000 steps, they're not perfect. You're going to mess at least one of those steps up.
Right.
So what makes you think if you can't do something as basic as walking, tying your shoes, chewing gum, like you're going to bite your tongue, like you're going to mess this stuff up at some point. What makes you think that if we can't do basic things perfectly, that I'm going to do something as complex as reading an exam perfectly every time for the rest of my life?
Right.
So for me, it's liability. That's by far and away, that's why doctors get paid what they get paid. The schooling is whatever. It's secondary on top of that.
Yeah.
But people sue, they are not going to sue. They're going to sue the doctor and the hospital system.
For sure.
So
yeah, I would agree. I think I'd agree with you on this. And I think that dollar amount, that might be where people are like, okay, but then you look at like professional athletes and they're making millions, it's like,
it goes back to the thing that it's healthcare. Athletes can make millions of dollars because it's not important, right? They're not affecting anyone. It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
And we pay their salary by going to the game and merchandise and all this other stuff.
True.
When healthcare is involved, people just, their mindset switches. Like they don't think, granted, money shouldn't, like insurance companies shouldn't be trying to profit off of this, but you have to compensate people that do the job well.
The schooling. Yeah. I
mean, if you start slashing, Medicare has been cutting reimbursement for 20 years. It gets low enough. We already don't have enough doctors or nurses. Like it's just going to get worse because you're cutting like the one thing that's decent about medicine.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. As they continue to, and I think you're right. Underpaid is probably underpaid.
Most people in medicine are underpaid.
Yeah. Underpaid, underappreciated.
Yeah.
Which is and now we're back at a burnout.
Yeah. So I think we've talked, so I think nurses are probably, if I had to pick one, I would say nurses are the most appreciated. They get the most respect from patients. I would say you guys are probably second as techs, CNAs and all. I'll throw CNAs with like nurses and all them. Doctors are probably towards the lower end. I think people just think we're big pharma shills and like we just care about money and all this and like.
Yeah. I don't know. I think mid-levels might be lower.
Yeah, you're right. Mid-levels, but most of that probably comes from us.
Yeah, that's true.
From doctors. At least all the hate I see, I'm sure patients complain about mid-levels, but patients don't know what they don't know. Like people in general, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know if the care you're getting from a mid-level is good or not until you get good care or you get bad care. Then you're like, oh man, what I was getting was really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Most of the hate from mid-levels comes from doctors. So
yeah, that's probably accurate for sure.
That's another topic we can talk about for a different day.
But most definitely. So yeah, I guess
that's how they're bridging the gap,
Yeah, and that's true. We don't have enough doctors, so we have more mid-levels. And so that seems to be the answer that the healthcare world's going. And so maybe that's something
that gets into, profit, right? Because mid-level schools are popping up. They're taking more people. It's just all about money, not really the education they're getting. So, but that's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and so I guess we can go straight into the. I guess well, we want to hear back from you guys too. So make sure you know reach out, let us know. You know, do you guys think that healthcare workers make too much?
Yeah.
Do doctors make too much? Do
Specifically,
nurses
just go ahead in the comments and let me know that I make too much money. I'm ready, you
just
know?
let him know. Just yeah, let Gage know he makes too much money, and then tell everybody that you know sonographers don't make enough money, dentist does not make enough money,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just forward that on to everybody that I know, and we'll just hope for the best from there. Um, so yeah, so I guess we'll go right to probably your favorite thing, right?
That's right. Question of
So
the
let's
day.
go to question of the day.
And this was again, I think it was the third week in a row. This was yours.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna let you, it's not really a question, but it's more of,
right.
it's a hot topic right now. So I'm gonna let you introduce this one.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to look at this. It's a list of places women absolutely refuse to go on a first date.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, and I've looked at this list, and I obviously don't. I saw a lot of women that disagree with this list, as
Yeah.
well as men, and so it's not just all one sided. Where I'm like, this is list is crazy, but and hopefully, and so Cheesecake Factory popped up number one
Mm-hmm.
was the number one place. I don't really understand because I love the Cheesecake Factory. Um,
I don't get that one either. Because
yeah,
to me, the list is all, it's like materialistic. A lot of the places are considered cheap. The
yeah,
Cheesecake Factory is not a, I've only been like once or twice. It's not very cheap.
no, no.
I
We're
think it's
talking
a
like
good middle ground.
yeah, I think it's like 10, 10, 12 bucks for like a piece of cheesecake. Like it's very expensive. I mean, that's what they're known for. There are other foods
Yeah.
they're not as known for. But then we got Cheesecake Factory, we got Applebee's, which I think there was that like country song about Applebee's on a date night.
Oh,
Um,
maybe. Yeah, that's your
some
alley,
country
not mine.
song, and so it
Yeah.
was kind of like
Yeah.
downplaying Applebee's. And there's Chili's, Chipotle. I'm gonna read like top 10. So we got Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, Chili's, Chipotle, Olive Garden, the movies, number
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
Your House, which
That's right.
okay, first date, Your House. That's probably
Yeah.
not a good first date. I mean,
Mhm. We
depending
know
on
what's
what you're
happening
looking for,
there.
I
Yeah.
suppose. Could be
Yeah.
a first date or could be not. Um, any fast food chain, I guess if you're going on a first date to
That's
Mickey
fair.
D's or something like that,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
probably not a good first date.
Yeah.
Buffalo Wild Wings, which is one of my favorite places,
Yeah,
being
some of these
from
just don't make sense to me.
yeah,
I agree.
being
Wingstop and Buffalo Wild, those are classic.
yeah, for sure. And
Like,
being
what
from
do you think? Some of these I agree with, but
yeah, being from Ohio, like Buffalo Wild Wings has a place in my heart. And so some of
I
them
get
you go down the
the,
list, like number 15 is like the gym. I
yeah.
mean, I guess that would be an really unless you guys are both like unless you met at the gym maybe and like you're like, oh, there's work out together and have a date,
Yeah.
but that seems kind of weird even for me who also enjoys going to exercise. Um, I think I don't know. I think if I was to and I guess I didn't bring this up to you, but if I was to rearrange the list,
Yeah.
I would put it. I would probably put if you're I think if you truly want to have something with somebody, depending on what you're looking for, I think you put maybe Your House is probably not the best first date.
Yeah.
Because you don't first of all, you don't know this if you don't know this individual, the first date, like you don't know what could happen at going
Could
to
kill
somebody's
you.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, like you don't know what could
Yeah.
happen. Like people are crazy, guys, girls, everybody's crazy
Yeah.
to some extent. The movies is probably a bad one just
Yeah. The
because
movies is terrible.
you can't talk, you can't get to
Yeah.
know somebody. Fast food places would probably be
I agree with that one. Yeah. That's not a good,
high up there just because it's
yeah.
obviously it's
And
cheap. It probably doesn't smell the
it's all
best.
about personality. Some of these, like I don't drink. So number 26, a bar for just drinks, not me. Hookah
Yeah.
bar, I don't smoke, not me. Nightclubs, not me.
Mhm.
So family number 20 is family functions. Why would you take a first date to a family function?
My gosh, dude. Unless you're both in the same family,
Yeah, I mean
which is
Alabama, like
which is just
shout out,
weird.
you know? Come on. Like some
Yeah,
of like I know you're a church guy, but even you wouldn't take a first date to church.
yeah, you don't wanna force unless you're bo you
Even
don't
if you're
wanna
both
force
religious, you really want
yeah,
to take a your first date is
yeah,
to go
not definitely
work.
not because if you're taking them to church, you know the people in the church, and then they see you and
Yeah.
they see you with this individual, and then the next week, say you don't bring them back, and they're like,
Oh, she was a harlot, huh? You didn't bring her back for round
yeah.
2. It's like,
Yeah,
come
like,
on.
yeah, I agree. And so, I
But a
think
lot
I
of
would
these I don't agree with just because I think the people they're it's money related. Like they
yeah,
see it as like I mean you and I both, but I grew up white trash. So a lot of these are not
mm,
quote unquote cheap. Like Red Lobster, it may be cheap, but like when you grew up where, we grew up,
from
Red Lobster, Olive Garden,
yeah,
those are
those are staples.
yeah. Buffalo Wild Wings, that's a staple.
Yeah, for real. So, yeah, I think I don't know, if I was to have a I think my favorite place to go on a date per se would probably be, um, maybe like something outdoorsy, like a fun activity,
Yeah.
whether it's like, a game of pickleball or, like a walk in an area with a lot of people. Make sure you
Yeah. So you don't
prioritize
get killed.
safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get killed, and like don't go for a long hike in the woods or something. Like,
Yeah.
um, but if you're gonna go, if it looks like materialistic like this list, I guess if you're gonna go out to eat,
What's
I,
number if you had to pick one, give me
mhm,
your top two out of this list that you
yeah,
would do.
top two out of this list that I would do, I would
Mine are
probably,
go ahead.
yeah, I would probably do, man, okay, a sports event. I think that would be fun,
Yeah.
but difficult because
Yeah.
you're focused on the sport. So I guess if you really want to pay attention, probably like a Buffalo Wild Wings
Mhm.
restaurant, like, because I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Maybe bowling would be a really fun one, I
Yeah.
think.
Bowling would be one of the ones I would do. I have
Yeah, I
done.
think I would go with bowling and, um, I guess for drinks. Obviously, I don't drink either.
Yeah.
So maybe like just get like a smoothie or something,
Yeah.
and hang out. So
I
yeah,
would do bowling and ice cream. Those are the 2 that are I
ooh,
want something bowling is not really quick, but ice cream is quick. Like,
yeah,
if things are not going well, you're out, you know?
right.
You want
And it
somewhere where there's, like, a quick escape if things don't go well.
true.
It's awkward, whatever.
Yeah. And if you're like on a yeah, and you know what's interesting? I've seen those, and then I knew an individual, a friend of mine that would go on dates, and he had to start looking at other dating places because he was spending so much money
Mhm.
on drinks or food,
Yeah.
or he's paying his food, he's buying his date's food. And
Yep.
so he was just like, this is like, and then they're not having second dates. And so he's like, I'm just wasting my time, my money on, and obviously I think this list is very much materialistic based.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with this, I think, and I think that's why if you really want to get to know somebody, I like, the bowling. I guess if even if the date sucks, maybe you just have some fun bowling.
Yeah, and you play
Uh,
one game and you're like, "Ah, this we're done."
yeah, it's it. And some of the places where I like different bars I saw on social media that like in the women's restroom, it says like you can order a certain drink, and that means like, hey, order me an Uber, I want to leave,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So I think that's kind of cool for if you're like, nervous with who you're with, or you're like, I don't want to be here anymore, or whatever that is, to have like bars or restaurants that accommodate those things that happen. Um,
Yeah, that's fair.
but
It's
yeah,
just this list is crazy. It's
it's
just
crazy. I like a Cheesecake Factory. I would like that would be.
yeah,
I mean, just like ice cream. I think you could go to the Cheesecake Factory. We both order a piece of cheesecake,
and that's
like
it, yeah.
talk, have a good time, like. And well, the Cheesecake Factories that I've been to have been pretty nice
Yeah, they
inside,
usually
like,
yeah,
and even on the outside, like. So yeah, I think I think a very materialistic individual maybe have made or came up with this list.
yeah. I mean, if you enjoy these types of dates and you know that you enjoy these types, you're gonna have to find someone,
Yeah, they can give
that
you that. Yeah,
they can give you that, yeah. I some of these are I mean, a lot of these are fine for me.
yeah, yeah. What would
The
be your
interesting
What would
go
be
ahead,
last? What would be last on
last.
your
Oh, something easy like, nightclubs. I think nightclubs are stupid and just in general.
right?
Hookah bar would be near the bottom. The movies would be near the bottom.
Yeah.
Family functions, like, come on. I'm not
Yeah,
taking
family functions, that's crazy. If you don't
uh,
know somebody and you bring them to meet mom and dad and the
first time.
aunts and uncles, and they're like, "First time, this is our first
I
date."
think sporting events would be at the bottom because I'm more interested in the sports.
Yeah,
I would
that would
wanna
be my issue
watch
too.
yeah. Number 22, somewhere that requires a long drive. I just said if I want a quick out, like, I don't wanna if things are bad, like, if you're the person you're with is not enjoying it, you're not enjoy everyone should have, like, an escape route.
Yeah,
If you have
for
to
real.
drive somewhere, that's not good.
No. Well, and yeah, or
Church,
take a long walk, you know, that's scary.
yeah. The
Um,
interesting thing would be that I want to see the opposite of this.
mm,
What do these women approve of? Like, what would be the 28 places they're like, hell yeah, we're
yeah.
going here.
Yeah,
So,
that would be interesting. Maybe that's some I don't even know if that's out there. Maybe we'll have to
and
look
then
into
you do
that.
a cost benefit analysis. You do a cost analysis.
It's cost benefit enough.
You
Yeah,
know,
to how much better dates you go on compared to people who take you on dates to these places.
yeah. This
And
is we haven't talked about this, but this gets into like the the red pill space of like women are kind of delusional when it comes to their standards and like men should make. Have you ever heard of? I forget what it's called, but have you heard of I don't know if it's a delusional calculator or something, but you can like put in your partner's ideal age,
mm,
height, salary, weight, race, all that, and then it will calculate it and tell you what percentage of men. It's specific for men, I think, but what percentage of men fit that criteria.
mm,
And there's people on YouTube that will do it and they're like, oh, 6 foot, you know, six figures, whatever. And then they get the calculator and it's like 0.02% of men.
yeah, make
So
those things.
it's a real issue. Like 80% of women are fighting for like 20% of men because
What the
they have the 6 foot, six figures standard.
right, right.
So
That's interesting. I had never heard that before. But I mean, I guess you like whatever it is that you like,
mhm,
and if it's popular amongst everybody and our cultures that's
yeah,
built this thing to, you know, if you like guys, you like girls, and you like a certain whatever it is, then that's what
yeah.
everybody's trying to get these select.
You just got to deal with the consequences of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's something, but yeah, this is a crazy. To me, this is just a ridiculously
Yeah, it's out of
crazy.
touch. All right, guys, that'll do it for another episode of Rad Talk. Hopefully, you enjoyed the content. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are in the travel healthcare industry, stick around for next week's episode because Dennis and I have partnered with a company and we have some good information coming. So make sure you follow our socials, rad_talk_DG, to find out what it is, and stay tuned for next week's episode.